How's it going? You're back for our part two. My name is Ashraf Khalifa. I'm on the committee of the MdxFM radio station, and I am also I'm the founder of the Entrepreneurship Society. Um, at the moment, basically, we need to do an election and have new committee and bring the Entrepreneurship Society back. I am just waiting to join. I've added her. Hey, salam.
Hello.
Right, you all right?
Wa alaikum assalam. Sorry about the mix-up, ya Ashraf. These time zones really do scatter my mind.
Well, I totally understand because, as you guys know, well, if you don't know, she's in America, and obviously we're in England here, and there's like three time zones alone in America, and then also the other. We're on British summertime now, so GMT is actually an hour behind. So that also confused. Like technically 8 o'clock GMT, 7 o'clock London time. So don't worry about it. You're not alone.
Yeah, that's what it is. I had Googled it. Yeah, I Googled it and I was trying to figure out the time zones and it said 3
Yeah.
p.m. But alhamdulillah, we're here live and center.
I don't know if you had a chance to see well, you probably didn't because you were a bit busy. But basically, I did like 30-minute talk. I gave like the whole background about like how the revolution, like where we like in terms of. Yeah, I didn't go into too much detail, but I spoke a little bit. But at least yeah, I mean, we don't need to do that now, which is good. But so first
And
of all,
context is important.
thank you for coming on, and I want to give you the opportunity to and to introduce yourself and talk about like your background and what you're up to and where you are right now.
Most definitely. Well, my name is Sadia Abu Bakr. I reside in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Where I'm at the moment, as far as career-wise, I work as a stockbroker in the finance world. I've been doing that for about 3 years now.
Nice.
My passion lies with nonprofit work, specifically surrounding Africa and Sudan, and uniting the diaspora with their roots. I think that's an important time in history in this moment where we just need to unite each other, and the diaspora has a major role in Africa. So that's where efforts lie.
Nice, I love it. I mentioned a little bit about your project, the Sudani American Collective. So, do you want to talk to us a little bit about that as well?
Sure, definitely. So the Sudani American Collective came about a year ago during the Sudani Revolution. There's about 20 of us who are co-founders of Sudani American Collective. Our mission statement is to establish a Sudani American narrative by cultivating a space for cultural progression, network building, uh, mentorship, and prosperity of all Black people through legal and social initiatives. Our efforts are towards Sudan and the goodness of all Black people, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Sure. So technically, we've been public.
The network
Yeah,
was
if it's my Wi-Fi.
cut on my side. It said like video pause due to weak connection. Yeah, sorry. So do you want to answer that question from the beginning?
Yeah, definitely. Can you repeat it, please?
Yeah, so in terms of your Sudani American Collective, like how long ago was it since you started? And yeah, just more about like when did you start and how long has it been so far?
Definitely. So we united as Sudani youth. Majority of us are between the age of 18 and 30 years old. The average age is about 25. We got together when the revolution took place, specifically when the internet was cut in Sudan. We realized we need to amplify the voices in Sudan. So we got together and started hosting rallies. This was July 2019.
Nice.
And we started organizing and reaching out to Congress and phone booking and all that stuff. And it's been a year now where we started working on different initiatives revolving around Sudan and are revolving around Black Lives Matter. So it's been a year, it's been a good year and going.
Nice. So you were inspired by the revolution.
Yes.
That's good. I like that.
As a lot of us have, it's bittersweet.
So I was so basically while you were away, I had a bit of a monologue for 30 minutes. Let's not call it a rant.
Okay.
But I was talking about like how yani, once the revolution started and we started going to the protests, because I live here in London, as you know. So at first we were protesting next to the Sudanese embassy, which is like opposite St. James's Palace, but it's like a very area, like very quiet, not a lot of people walk past. So thankfully, the protest organizers strategically decided to change our protest to Trafalgar Square, which is obviously like a lot more touristic, a lot more cultural. And then like I think that helped like change the momentum. But also like we like started seeing a lot of people and the numbers getting bigger. And like you were like, yo, I didn't know Sudan. Like I didn't know there were so many Sudanese people in London. And yeah, so like, did you guys have a similar experience in America?
Yes, definitely. I would say the Minneapolis community, the Minneapolis Sudani community specifically, is very different in the sense that we're very tight knit. I would say we're about 200 families, fairly large. And we always host, stuff at our Jalia events and tight knit in that sense. But what was different with the revolution is the support of our allies. We had our Somali brothers and sisters come out and support, our Ethiopian brothers and sisters come out, our white and our Black American brothers and sisters come and support. That was the difference, as well as the unity that came from the youth. As you may or may not know, Minnesota is a fairly large state. You're literally, most of us are in the suburbs. It's like a 30-minute drive from the city where the hub of everything is, right? So when people get busy with their life, we don't have time to connect like we did when we were younger. So everyone had their own thing. But with this revolution, there was a sense of unity and a sense of pride about Sudan that we've never seen there, where people are shouting they're Sudani. Whether it's because everyone knows where Sudan is now, because before I'd say, oh, I'm from Sudan, and they'd be like, oh, where's that? Or what is Sudan? Or Sudan, but that brought that sense of unity, that proudness of we're Sudani. Rihanna knows where Sudan is. You know what I mean? It's just that amazed me. The youth were proud and ready to shout from the rooftop that they're Sudani and amplify the voices in Sudan. That was the difference. Yeah, am I lagging? Can you see me?
No, it's the white, like it's saying there's a poor connection, so it kept pausing the video. But I don't know if it's my side or your side. I tried to switch off my Wi-Fi and use like my data from my phone, but I think that made it worse, so I put the Wi-Fi back on. But yeah,
Sure, I can do that.
I was just about to say, before you asked me a question, I was like, I mean, the way I want this to work is like to have a discussion rather than me just interviewing you. So we'll do it like you ask me a question, I ask you a question. How does that sound with you?
I like that. Yeah, sounds good. It's more natural, less informal.
Yeah. Right. So I see you started to ask me a question about like London, but I think the connection like broke up, so I didn't hear the ending of the question.
Yeah, I'm curious, what about this revolution changed the Sudani community in London?
Okay, so for me, I don't want to come across as negative at all, but
Okay.
I'm lucky. I've lived in 8 different countries. You know what I mean? So I've seen Sudanese community in Sudanese community in Jordan, Sudanese community in Denmark as well. I used to live, and I had 2 years in Sudan. Also, I lived in Liverpool for a while. You know,
Wow,
lived in
inshallah.
like
You've been
uni.
around.
Yeah, in a place called Guildford. But basically, like, London is like the hub because obviously a lot of like and in terms of the political like proper present people, they all came here.
Mhm.
But because of that, like London is very, very divided. Like you can see it very clearly. You've got like people from Darfur, whenever they make any events, no, like the other people don't come. The people from the Nubia, whenever they make their events, you don't really get. And then you've got like the Ansar or the Mahdi supporters when they make their events. And then the other thing as well, like there's another big gap between because here we have like a Sudanese school every Saturday, but they only go up until the GCSE level, which is year 11, which is grade 10. So after, yani, you'll find people events that are up until grade 10, but then the people that are older than that, like they're just missing. So like it's very much like all the events you go to, you'll have the old people and you have the young kids, and they all treat it as like free daycare, you know. But I feel, yeah, I mean, the revolution sort of unites people a little bit. But then there's also another area which is more important than that, which is the refugee community. You know what I mean? Yani London has a large amount of Sudanese refugees, especially in the last 5 years. And the thing is, the people that came in the early '90s to late '90s, they don't see these new refugees. You know what I mean? Like there's a big discrimination. Like, and then in terms of like, because there's an organization here called it's called Waging Peace. So it's an NGO that literally deals with Sudan and helps like yani, all the refugees that are coming. They help with their paperwork, they help find support, and they were actually struggling to find like a Sudanese organization or a center or
Wow,
help them. You know what I mean?
surprising.
And
Hmm.
I've got my cousin. She studied refugee studies in her master's, so she sort of helped to organize like asylum clinic because of the work of Waging Peace. Like, but I don't know. Like, yeah, in terms of when we go out and see all these protests and stuff like that,
Hmm.
but I don't really feel a huge sense of unity. And then, especially after, like, I don't know, like, it's weird.
Yeah, that's honestly odd to think that there wouldn't be established organizations in the UK, considering how close you are to Sudan.
Uh,
That genuinely surprises me
I
because I
mean,
know
there's
I have
not.
a.
Problem is that they don't get back to like waiting lists because we have something called here the Jadi Sudanian. So officially, it's called the Sudanese Information SCIC Sudanese Community and Information Center.
Mhm.
So like, yeah, they do a lot of work. I'm not going to deny that. And also, I was actually part of the Jadi as well. I got elected in 2000, 2014. So
Mhm.
like we've set up a youth club every week. We've set up a couple of different things. But the problem is there's clashes in terms of because the Jadi organized something, or for example the Nubia organized Eid or the Ansar organized Eid. There's like boycotts. So that it makes the work much more difficult, and that's what I'm saying. Like the community here is very fragmented. You know.
Yeah, very much so. I hear recently of organizations like SDN, the Sudani Diaspora Network, who are based in the UK, and Sudani American Collective is actually collaborating with them on a project called Sudan is Safe. We're working on initiatives revolving COVID-19. So I've heard of them, and it's a youth-led organization. I've also heard of Empower Sudan. But you're right, in terms of these organizations, they have started after the revolution. So I'm hoping, inshallah, that what took place during the revolution is so unique because we had people from West Sudan, from East Sudan, from the North, from the South, all coming together to Khartoum at the Qiyada to protest. If that doesn't show unity to the Sudani diaspora, I don't know what is. So I'm hoping that that translates and brings us together. And like I was guilty of this, right? So I lived in Sudan my fundamental years till I was 7 years old, and then I came to the States right away, and came to Minnesota, and I've been here ever since. After I graduated high school, I realized that I was not involved with the Sudani community, and there was just something in me that was missing, and I wanted to reconnect with my roots. So I started just reading more about Africa, reading more about Pan-Africanism. I tried and attempted to find books on Sudan in English, but couldn't. And speaking more with people about Sudan. And surprisingly, Ashraf, listen, we're right here. 2014, I joined the Sudani Jalia as well and was
Oh,
elected
wow.
as the youngest member. Yeah, and I was in charge of the youth and cultural department and uniting the youth and bringing us together. So I started reconnecting with my roots in that sense. And then I was like, you know what? I need to go to Sudan. I need to see this firsthand. So 2014, took a plane all by myself. Decided to, yeah, right, a big step to go international for the first time by yourself. And went to
Yeah.
Sudan. And ever since, just I've been overwhelmed with so much pride and so much, um, what's the proper term? So much enthusiasm for Sudan and for what can be done in Sudan. There's so many great minds there, but the government was limiting us. But
Yeah.
now with the power of social media and with the power of the revolution, I'm hoping that the diaspora will take a step and go back and reconnect with their roots in that sense. Inshallah.
But do you think Sudan is ready for us all to go back? Like, when you, because think about it like this way.
Hmm. Good
Main
question.
road in Sudan is Shara Afriqiya, right? It goes right past the airport.
Mm-hmm.
4-lane road. And you're talking about other countries that are having 15-lane roads and 18-lane roads. So do you think Sudan is ready for us to go back?
That's such a good question. I've been, inshallah, like Haya says in the comment box. I think it needs to be ready because we have the financial backing that Sudan needs. We need to invest in Sudan. And I'm not talking about no savior complex or a charity case in Sudan. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm
Yeah.
saying that we need to invest in Sudan for ourselves and for our families. And they need to be ready and they will be ready. At this point, there's no choice. We're coming and we're coming in full force and we're ready to support and take what's ours because Ashraf, every other nation in the world is doing it. Sudan, I'll give you like a little bit of a context. Something that I learned recently is that Sudan was the hub of Africa. At some point, everyone used to go, I don't want to say everyone, but a lot of different countries in Africa used to go to the University of Khartoum because it was one of the best educational institutions in Africa. And
Yeah.
I'm talking, this is in the 70s and 80s, not that long ago, right? So we have a large population of Ethiopians in Sudan, and we have a large population of Nigerians and Somali population. We have a huge Chinese population, Egyptian, and most recently, we're getting a larger population of Syrian communities in Sudan. So all these different communities
And
are
for
going
being
to Sudan and investing.
letting Syrians in without a visa.
Yes, yes. And nonetheless, people are coming with their entire life savings and everything that they have in their back and bringing it into Sudan. So why is it all these different nations are investing in Africa and in Sudan and we're sitting back like, is this the right time? No, we got to claim what's ours or there's not going to be anything left.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And yeah, I mean, it is a very important point you highlighted. Like, if other people can
Mhm,
do that, why can't we? And then
mhm.
also, when you're there, why do people always keep talking about they wanting to leave? You know, like
Their PhDs, their doctorates, but there are no jobs. There's not an economy to sustain these people. So if you have read and you've taken the time and invested in yourself and invested all that money and now you have to sit back, Annie, I
Hello, can you hear me?
All right, there you go. Now,
Do you have a question for me?
yeah, do you see yourself living in Sudan in the near future?
Yeah, 100%. Like, so I've only got one thing. So basically, since I've been living in this beautiful country, and the biggest priority was getting the passport, the British passport. So now I've applied, and I'm just waiting for that. But the second thing, which is linking me and holding me back, is my master's, which I'm in the middle of, which is in creative technology. But if I had my master's tomorrow, which is obviously not going to happen, I'd go to Sudan
Mhm.
tomorrow. But at the same time, like I'd go to Sudan and then come back and finish it and then go back. But I can totally see myself. Like I think definitely in the next 3 years, but like I'm gonna make a firm decision on whether like I finish this masters or completely forget about it and then go back to Sudan. But yes, to answer your question, I totally see myself living there. And a big part
That's
of
been,
why is because you see, England is, I don't know how it is in America, but in England, like if you ask someone, like, listen, on the 29th of September, what are you going to be doing? They'll be able to tell you. I was saying, like, for me, I don't really like routine and the weather is horrible. It rains all the time. It's always wet and gray. So, and the fact it's going to be nice and sunny, I think that's another attraction as well.
mm. So when September 29th comes around, most people will tell you they're going to Sudan. Is that what you're telling me?
Um,
Or are you
yeah.
out?
And they'll be able to tell you how their day is going to be. Like,
Mm, yeah,
October 8, like they'll know, like I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna go to work, I have a
right.
meeting at like a 5, I'll be on the train back home. Like
Hmm.
it's so routine, so
You don't like
structured,
that routine.
so
Mm,
depressing, changes, and no, I don't really like that thing. Like in Sudan, you wake up, you don't know if the door to the office is gonna be open because the guard is had like a funeral, or you don't even know if you're gonna be going to a wedding or like
mhm.
to a graduation. It could be like four problems that you have to solve before you even get to work. So, and the days are
Yep.
different. Where they're like all the days that seem like the same.
Actually, you just got me thinking about something. I think that's something else that can unite the diaspora with Sudan. Is something that we can bring, which is our timeliness, right? In a sense of, I'm guilty at times. I blame it, oh, I'm a Sudani, and that's why I'm late and all of that. Uh, but to be honest, it's the system in Sudan. It's the government that is not paying people enough to be on time, right? It's the institution that's not, it doesn't have initiatives to allow people to commit to a certain time. Okay, right? And I think that's something that we can bring to Sudan in a sense of the pressure that the diaspora can put on the Sudani government, which is a major sense of unity. Because before, whenever I would go to Sudan, I go every year or 2 years. I'm about to be 26 in a week. Woo woo, Virgos.
Yeah.
I've been going to Sudan since I was 18 every year or two. So I've gone about 4 or 5 times now. And I'm always called Nasa Mrika del whenever I do something. And it's just my personality, right? Wala, yakinto hankoshad, these kind of terms. But recently with the revolution, it showed people living in Sudan that we as the diaspora may actually be more Sudani, quote unquote, than you, right?
Mm.
In a sense that our families left Sudan in the 90s and early 2000s, and طلعوا بعاداتهم. They left holding on to these traditions, right, of what Sudan was in that moment, and it was kind of uh, it was frozen in time, right? Whereas Sudan continued to progress and become more westernized, our families left and held so tightly onto that identity. So in that sense, I do believe we are more Sudani. But we are also Westernized in the sense when it comes to timeliness and when it comes to certain things in that essence. I think we can bring that to Sudan. And there's more of an appreciation now for us because the revolution showcased that traditional aspect of ourselves. We were out there in our tiab, right? Protesting and chanting with everybody, taking the chants that were said in Sudan, the Qiyada, and bringing it out to the streets of America and the UK and Brazil, and Sudanese everywhere were showing our solidarity with Sudan and showing that we are Sudani. You cannot take the Sudani out of the Sudani. You are Sudani no matter where you go, right? So I think it's united us in that sense where we've shown that we are Sudani and we deserve that respect and not to be othered.
I like that. I totally agree with that. And also, like, and that I didn't really think about that too much, but now, like, I can totally relate to that. And I think also, and that brought the diaspora and the people a lot closer together as well. I think 100%.
Yeah, it totally did.
In terms of you, so do you see yourself living in Sudan and moving to Sudan?
Yeah. Thinking about this recently. If you would have asked me 4 years ago, I'd have been like, Ashraf, I can't see the saha والكهرباء وما بقدر والموية الباردة. صح? But as of now, yes, I do want to go to Sudan. I want to invest in Sudan. I want to buy land in Sudan. I want to support my people in Sudan. I want to support Africa overall. I think this is time is of an essence at this moment with the power of social media, which is a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
We've seen what the possibility of Africa is. You can look at the businesses in Nigeria. I want to take that culture and implement some of these structures that are in Nigeria when it comes to business and bring it to Sudan. And now I see it's possible because there's already a blueprint, right? I want the tourism of South Africa and I want to bring that to Sudan, right? And not just me, but there's a lot of people, but there's all these ideas and there's all these different things that are already implemented in Africa. And social media has showed us the possibility of what Africa can be. And it's opened my eyes to, you know what, in my lifetime, this is possible. So I do see myself moving to Sudan. What was limiting me is the finance, the limitation of growth. Yeah. But I realize that's an illusion that's been pressed on us and embedded on us by Western society. So yes, to basically, I would love to go to Sudan in the near future, inshallah. But first off, let's save before we go.
Well, I have another question, but it's more basically I have this idea and I've had it for a while. Not and it's not new because of the revolution or anything. But I just think Khartoum is actually not very good as a capital city. So I think that they should move the capital to Port Sudan because if you look at Khartoum, there's no business district, no structure. It's like it's a joke. Like, it's really bad. So what do you think about us moving the capital to Port Sudan? I would like to get your views on that.
I am here for it. I actually last time I was in Sudan was January 2020 when the revolution first began and we were attempting to go to protests in Sudan while I was there, and my family's like, no, you shouldn't and all that, but you know me, nah, I'm in there, we need to do this, and I ended up pushing people to go out. But I say all this to say I was attempting to go to Port Sudan because I've heard about the beauty of Port Sudan and the diversity of Port Sudan, and recently what's been taking place in Port Sudan, people are attempting to claim Port Sudan. So yes, I would love that to be the capital. Though my reservation is it may be far for people who are living in the east or the west.
What do you mean the west? We're right. We're right. Like the sea is the most important thing. It's like a gateway. We're on the Red Sea. Plus, it's close to Saudi. It's close to the shipping. It's close, and everything's by plane. You know what I mean?
Yes, very true, very true. Yes, I'm with you. Can we start a petition?
I
Can we make this happen?
We have to make it happen.
Okay, I'm ready. Hit me up anytime. Anybody, all the people in here who would like to be part of this, I advocate and I'm here for it.
All right. Just wanted to say, everyone in the live with us, and we want to keep this interactive, so please give us your questions as well. And I think Yani now is to ask me a question. Yes, Sadia.
Most definitely. You said you would like me to ask you a question? Sure. So, wow, where do I even start? As far as Sudan goes, where do you receive your information? How do you learn about the history of Sudan? And yeah, where do you get context of what is taking place in Sudan? Because I'm struggling with this as I don't read Arabic. الكلام حقي مكسر شوية لكن تفهموني وأنا بفهمكم كويس. Where can I receive information in English? What are your resources?
And friends, I guess. I don't know. To my parents. Like I ask them the question. Is you. Like it's very difficult to. There's no website or place where you can go and find out what's happening, or even you find out something's happening. There's no place where there's like opinions, analysis, commentary that's happening around it. So like, for example, let's talk about this Port Sudan thing. So we know there was like a bunch of people that were killed in Port Sudan, but we don't know like where would you go to find out or the information in the background. So I don't know, it's a challenge. And then the other problem as well, like, and a lot of these stuff that do exist are written in Arabic. So we're automatic. That's the second thing. And yeah, I mean, the solution is probably to pick up and brush up and perfect the Arabic. But I don't know. It's very difficult. Or find someone
that's a project that needs to be started.
I think so. Or we need to push people to start embracing, because English is the global language, and people are missing out. All right, so we have a question.
People who are willing to translate.
We have a question from the RAG Society. So RAG stands for raise and give. So it's like, I've already answered this question in my previous rant, my monologue. So this question is for you. So is there any hope that the South and the North get together again?
Okay, to give you some context, here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, we have a very large South Sudani community. And some of my near and dear girlfriends are from South Sudan. And specifically, something phenomenal that's done within the South Sudani community here in America and in Canada, I would say North America, is for the last 5 years, they would host annual South Sudani convention. Last year, me and my Sudani colleagues decided to pull up and show our support and solidarity. And we had this conversation, actually. I've had it with my girlfriends, and we had it with panelists and people that are part of the South Sudani community that were at this convention. The short answer is no. And do you blame them? Do you blame South Sudani people for not wanting to join us? Do you blame them for not wanting to be part of a government that wants to oppress and by them as second-class citizens? Would you? So no, I don't think that's a possibility, and it's very ignorant of us to say, oh, like we're all one and let's sing kumbaya with one another. That's not the reality of the world that we live in, right? Also ask yourself, I had to sit down because I was this person and I was called out, and I appreciate people that call me out on my ignorance. I was like احنا قريبين زي بعض عندنا the same culture وبناكل نفس الاكل وعندكم عصيده وكسره احنا زي بعض وبنغني وبنزغرت you know, they were like, Sadia, Agifi, that's not what it's about. It's about our livelihood.
Yeah.
And then also I had to sit back. Sorry, Ashraf. I just want to finish the point. I had to sit back and ask myself, why is it that I want South Sudan to be part of Sudan? And when I sat down, it was because Lakin Sudan was the largest country in Africa. We're going to lose that. Stop, like what? And then my second reason was majority of Sudan's resources are in South Sudan. As far as oil goes, majority of Sudan's oil is in South Sudan. So I was like, but we're going to lose all these resources. And when I started to sit down with myself and articulate why I feel the way that I feel, I realized it was very selfish of me and very self-centered. So no,
Yeah.
I don't think that's right.
I know exactly what you mean. All right, just bear with me. I have to just give this thing to my mom, and I got my charger, and then I will.
Yeah, because I would love to hear your point of view on this.
All right, I'll give you my 2 cents on this actually.
Yes, please. What about you, Rag? What do you think?
All right, so if you asked me this question like a year ago, so before this revolution, I would have said exactly what you said, like hell no, no chance, never gonna happen, because to be honest, we have been treating the southern people as second-class citizens, and it's totally unfair, and I wouldn't put myself, if I were a southerner, back in the situation where the same thing could happen to me again. But I think a big part of it was because of Umar al-Bashir and his Muslim government, and in terms of the policies that they were implementing. And now that that's gone away, I think I'm talking for the southern people now. Like my South friends, they've become a little bit more receptive to the idea, and even online and on Facebook and on Instagram, they're a little bit more open to the idea. But at the same time, I think it's a bit difficult. All right, so the Rag Society is neutral, but they're totally hopeful for the unity.
That's the thing, yeah, Ashraf. I don't want to cut us off. I don't want to say no and it's impossible and it's never going to happen. Who am I? I can't foresee the future, right? But I think in this moment we need to focus on our South Sudani brothers and sisters who are currently living in Sudan. Yes, currently living in North Sudan.
Right. I think we have another question, and I know this is a very, very deep and very complex topic.
What we're all about.
This will probably, we have to have a discussion on its own. All right, let's see the next question. So Heya asked both of us, where would you like to see Sudan in 10 years' time, inshallah? So do you want to do that first?
What do you think?
Or answer first?
By all means, go ahead.
All right, sounds good. So I see Sudan as claiming its rightful place as the best country in Africa, a country that's able to, to sustain itself, a country that's able to feed itself and feed its people. See us going back as a diaspora, and I totally see Sudan going back to this glory that all of our parents were talking about, this mythical how back in the day Sudan was amazing. So that's totally what I do see. Whether that's going to happen, and we're not going to go down the civil war and destroy the country route, I feel quite strongly that Sudanese people, there's too much love in each other for us to start. But we just have to be wary of Saudi control, Turkish control, and influence, and especially the UAE as well.
Yes, most definitely. I agree with that. I just want to be careful when we say Sudan is Zaman. A friend of mine brought it up, Rayan, who's actually in here, who said, that sounds like make Sudan great again, right? Great for who?
Yeah.
Right? But I get what you're saying, definitely. Sudan's Zaman in a sense that people had the freedom to express themselves for themselves, right? I want Sudan to go back to that. I want Sudan to be the hub of education again, because education is very important for all African households, no matter where you're from. The most educated demographic in the United States in this moment is Nigerians. It's West Africans, right? In the United States. Because in African households, education is very important to us. But I want to say specifically towards the Sudani community, education is the top tier. Like if you need to, before you can breathe or eat, you need to educate yourself, right? So I want us to go back to that, where Sudan becomes the hub of education, where everyone can come into Sudan. We have Port Sudan, will become a trading port again for Africa like we were years ago. I want that Sudan. I want a Sudan that's inclusive of LGBTQ plus community, a Sudan that's religion, a Sudan of whatever way or form your identity to be. That's what I imagine for Sudan. With having a switch system, I imagine Sudan having what's happening right now with the rain. The term just completely, I lost it. But having, I think it's a sewage system, a drainage system, right? Drainage. Thank you. I just imagine Sudan being self within the next 10 years. Allah. What's that, Ashok?
I was saying like and the rainy season is now and there's flooding. This happens every year, so why can't we prepare for it?
Unfortunately,
like people are shocked that it's going to rain every year, so it's so bizarre.
That's the thing. The great minds are there. Maybe I'm biased, maybe, possibly, or maybe a little bit biased, but we have some of the greatest minds in Sudan. We just need the funding. So I'm hoping now that we've opened, NGOs are allowed to enter Sudan again, because that was a restriction that was placed because of this regime, this oppressive regime that we had. But as of January 2020, NGOs are now allowed to enter Sudan. I want there to be a regulation for NGOs where there's receipts, so we see what work is being done. So I imagine better investment in Sudan within the next 10 years, inshallah, and becoming self-sustainable.
It's going to be the new greatest country in the world. That's what we're saying, right?
I mean,
100%.
It will.
It is. All right. I'm gonna link it back to because obviously this is a university radio station. So if you can talk to us about what you studied, where you studied, and a little bit about why, but also talk to us about if you guys had a radio station, for example, if you had like the students union.
Definitely. So I went to school. I did my 2 years at Normandale. And surprisingly, something that most people don't know, you actually don't need a 4-year degree. I have my 2-year degree, and I'm now going back to school to get my 4-year degree. I'm currently enrolled in summer classes and will be attending classes in the fall. But you do need certificates to work in finance. For you to be a broker, you need to get your brokerage license, right? And before that, something that helped me get in the door is I was working in insurance, healthcare insurance, as well as life insurance. That's what I was doing previously to being a broker, a stockbroker specifically. So I had my 2-year degree. I also had connections, alhamdulillah, that helped me get in the door, and they were able to see that I am qualified for this position. So I would say anybody, if you think you're capable, go and take it, claim why you deserve to be here. But currently I'm finding myself in a situation where I'm in rooms with people that have PhDs and multiple masters and all of that. And then I have my 2-year degree, and they look at me like, I also have a few leadership and entrepreneurship certificates. So certificates are a major thing for me to show that I've taken courses. I've also taken a crisis management certificate. That was my latest one. Um, but yeah, I recommend everybody gets certified and take as many licenses as possible. How
Nice.
about you?
All right. So
What did you study?
I did my undergraduate degree at University of Surrey, and I did a degree called Technology Entrepreneurship. So I studied here in the UK because they count the A levels as part of your college. So it's only 3 years. So I graduated I went to school from 2007 till 2010. I graduated. And then I've been working on my master's at Middlesex like for a couple of years. I've been doing it part time. And with the creative technology, like what we study is we look at all the new emerging technologies. So like virtual reality, augmented reality, like artificial
Uh-huh.
intelligence. We look at game design, animation, and then we do like business side of things as well, like how to patents and copyright and how to like generate ideas, how to write a business plan, reports, and then yeah, we're supposed to come up with a product based on a brief, and we work together to try and like to match the brief. And yeah, the way we submit our courses is like you have to submit a video, a 5 minute video that explains everything, and then you write a report to accompany it as well. Then
Interesting.
yeah, and at Middlesex University as well. Like I'm quite active. As I mentioned a bit, I'm the well. Last year I was the treasurer of the Entrepreneurship Society, but I created the society in 2008.
Hmm.
So at one point I was the president, at one point I was the vice president, and at one point I was the treasurer. This year the society, like we haven't had an election, so and because the two other committee members that I was with are both graduating this year, and then I'm like involved with I'm a student ambassador, so we do campus tours, we do like open days, and also I was actually the co-president of the RAG Society last year, the Raising and Giving,
Nice.
and also there's something called the Enactus Society at Middlesex, which is social entrepreneurship, and yeah, and the reason why I'm saying is because I want to encourage people to like take all the opportunities that are available in whatever whatever situation they find themselves in,
Yes.
and it helps you by networking, building your skills, building your self confidence, your leadership, and also it will help you fill up your CV and down the line as well.
Yes. That's the thing. Opportunities will present themselves to you, but it's your job to take that opportunity. And if you see that you have an idea, and I'm not here trying to preach to the choir, this is for myself as much as it is for you. But when you see something, an opportunity, a club like you, Ashraf, that you saw there's an opportunity and a gap that needs to be filled, create it, build that opportunity. Because if you had that thought, like Ashraf did, there's other people that did too, and they're just waiting for somebody to create it, which is exactly what we did with Sudani American Collective. Because I realized I had an identity crisis growing up.
Yeah,
I
big
didn't
time.
know, am I Sudani? Am I American? Am I Black? Am I Muslim? Like, what am I? And I'm all of it. I'm multifaceted. We are not monolithic around here. We are all of that. This is the time, this is the modern renaissance, and you can be everything. And the moment that I had that epiphany, I realized I'm not alone. When I started having these conversations out loud, I realized so many other people were feeling and experiencing the exact experience that I am. So when me and my other 20 colleagues decided we want to fill that gap with Sudani American Collective and unite the youth, because we saw the power of youth during the revolution and we saw what we could do ourselves. We set up a rally in 3 days. We got licenses from the state capitol in Minneapolis. We sat down with Ilhan Omar, which is the first Somali
Yeah,
congresswoman from Minneapolis. We sat down with her representatives all within 3 days just by utilizing our connections. And we created that opportunity for ourselves. So I say this to myself as much as I say it to you. Create opportunities like Ashraf did, like we did, because you're not alone. There's a lot of people just waiting for somebody to do it, which is where I'm at right now as an aspiring entrepreneur. Is
yeah,
I'm ready to create these opportunities, which is how Ashraf and I met. I actually reached out to Ashraf and I was like, Ashraf, I've been following your work, Sudanpreneur, for over a year now, specifically around the Sudani revolution time and reconnecting with my roots and all that good stuff. And I would like you to look over my business plan if you would be so kind to do so. And we just clicked like that. We connected, we shared ideas. He looked over my business plan, helped me with my perfectionist side as a Virgo. By the way, I don't follow horoscopes. I think it's just a point of conversation. But yeah, we connected in that sense, and we created the opportunity for ourselves. And there's like minds that are here to support.
That's what's up. You've got a couple of comments from Heya, who said, and you're very well educated, well spoken. And Zain also said, you guys are definitely, and I totally agree with them, putting the SAC, the Sudani American Collective, on the map, and they love to see that. And then asked me a question about my own university and the amount of Sudanese people. To be honest, like, there's not really a lot of Sudanese. I mean, there are Sudanese, but it's not a population, and maybe 10, 15 people. And then in terms of you having Middlesex on your university choices, I totally recommend Middlesex, and I think you should totally come to Middlesex, and we'll be colleagues in Middlesex together. I'm conscious of the time, so we've got like about a few more minutes. So I'm gonna let you do a summing up, if you don't mind, and sort of like
I just want to say that we as a diaspora, to anybody who is living in Sudan and is not part of the diaspora, we are Sudani, and we are here full force, ready to support our brothers and sisters on the ground. We're here to promote your ideas. We know your phenomenal mind. When it comes to funding, we're here to support. We'll do the best that we can, inshallah. And also for all Africans that are part of the diaspora or in Africa, I want you to know, with the power of social media and the Sudani revolution, this is just the start for us. And the fact that we're all these incredible minds are able to link in a way that we've never been able to do before. Don't be afraid to reach out if you have ideas. Reach out to me, reach out to Ashraf, reach out to other phenomenal people that you're following, because people are there to help. And it's time for Africa to unite and be self-sustainable. Everyone else is grabbing our resources and creating what they want from Africa. It's time for us as Africans to claim what's ours.
100%. All right, this is going to be the final question. Thank you, Zain, for asking it. So basically, they said, this is the question from our friend Watin. So he's asking, if the two of us were presidents of Sudan, what would be your first priority? So I'll let you start.
I love it. What would be my first priority?
So for me, my first priority would be to bring the diaspora back. So I would actually set up proper incentives, free flights, tax deductions, etc., bring the best of the Sudanese people back to Sudan. And then after that, focus on changing the mindset that has been corrupted. Because now, people complaining about the old government, the Kezan, they behave the same way. Like they don't respect the time, they don't respect the corruption, they don't respect the. So we need to do a mind shift change. We need to make people feel in love with the country and treat it like their own. And then also maybe like focus on like an identity campaign. I think those are the three areas I would prioritize.
Phenomenal. Well said, Ashraf. What I would do, wow, that's a loaded question. Very good question. First thing I would do is get this transitional government out of office. And I would elect women and youth only in leadership, as 60% of Sudan's population is under the age of 25.
35 is the most, isn't it?
Exactly. That would be the first thing I would do. And that alone is going to create immense change.
I totally agree. I love that. All right, listen, we've got like a minute left, so I'm going to end the live because we don't want to lose it. And I just wanted to say to everyone watching, and we're planning to have this as a weekly a weekly session on our MdxFM, and also everything is moving virtual. So we're also going to be like recording like our sessions, our podcasts, our radio shows, and posting them on MdxFM. And please make sure you like MdxFM, and get all your friends to like it. And then also, Yani, give us recommendations of different speakers and stuff. And if you guys want to see Sadia back again, totally let us know, and we will do our best to
And
try and
thank you, Ashraf, for considering me to be on your first episode for this series. And thank you for taking initiative and creating all these amazing projects. We're always here to support you and keep up the great work.
very much. And I look forward to a lot of collaboration between us, inshallah.
Inshallah. Likewise.
Yalla, salam, everyone. It should be next week at 8, but again, this whole GMT, BST time thing,
Yes.
but hopefully
we'll be tuning in.
Yalla. All right, we will bring her back maybe like at some point very soon, inshallah.
Okay.
We see you plans, and also I don't think we covered like enough topics. You know what I mean? Like there's still a lot of areas we could have went into, I think.
Inshallah.
Yalla, Jama'a. Good night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Take care.
Yeah. Take care. Ma'asalam.